Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Don't Let Your Emotions Run Your Life for Teens, 2nd edition. Dialectical behavior therapy skills for helping you manage mood swings, control angry outbursts, and get along with others. By Sheri Van Dijk, MSW. Narrated by Coleen Marlo. Publisher's note. This audiobook includes bonus material. Please visit Tantor.com and type Don't Let Your Emotions Run Your Life for Teens, 2nd edition, into the search box. Follow the link to the book's page. Then, under the supplemental content section, please enter the access code TEENS, and then click the unlock button to access the bonus material. The code should be entered in all lowercase letters. Charts and worksheets referenced in this audiobook can be found in the bonus material. This publication is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is sold with the understanding that the publisher is not engaged in rendering psychological, financial, legal, or other professional services. If expert assistance or counseling is needed, the services of a competent professional should be sought. Introduction. Something about this book caught your attention. Maybe you've been feeling sad a lot lately. Maybe you're finding yourself snapping at the people you care about. Or perhaps you've noticed that you've recently been feeling more anxious or nervous. Whatever emotional issues you're dealing with, this workbook can help. The main goal of this book is to help you learn to manage your emotions so that they don't get the better of you and make you do things you end up regretting. So what does it mean to manage your emotions? We all have emotions. They're a necessary part of being human, and we wouldn't want to get rid of them even if we could. Learning to manage your emotions means becoming more aware of your feelings and figuring out what to do with them so that you're not hurting yourself or other people because of how you feel. It means learning to put up with your emotions, even when they're painful, instead of trying to avoid them. Think about how you deal with your emotions right now. Do you let yourself feel them, or do you fight them? Do you avoid them? Do you drink or use drugs to try to escape them? Do you lash out at people you care about because you're in pain and don't know what else to do to help yourself feel better? Or maybe you use humor to try and hide from your feelings and prevent others from seeing that you're really hurting inside. Whatever techniques you're using to try to not feel your emotions or to cope with how you're feeling, they're probably not working, or you wouldn't be looking at this workbook. This book will teach you the skills you need to manage your emotions in a healthy way. When you can do that, you'll see that you'll feel better about yourself and your relationships will go more smoothly. You'll be able to live a healthier, happier life where your emotions are no longer in control. Dialectical behavior therapy, DBT, is a treatment that was created by Dr. Marsha Linehan, a psychologist in Seattle, Washington. She developed this therapy to help people who had a really hard time regulating their emotions. This is also known as emotion dysregulation. Quite often, people with this type of emotional problem end up hurting themselves physically, or at the very least, they do things that actually make their lives worse, like using drugs or alcohol, shoplifting, gambling, or having unprotected sex and multiple partners. They tend to lead chaotic lives because their emotions are often so out of control, which can lead to problems in their relationships. You might have noticed some of these consequences in your own life, and that your inability to manage your emotions sometimes leads to problems at school, at work, and with the law. This workbook will teach you the DBT skills you need to help yourself live a healthier, less confusing life. These skills are separated into 4 categories. The first, mindfulness skills, will help you get to know yourself better and have more control over your emotions and how you act in situations. In the second set of skills, emotion regulation, you will learn important information about your emotions that will help you manage them better and increase the positive emotions in your life. Distress tolerance skills will help you get through crisis situations without making things worse by falling back on behaviors you may have used in the past, like drinking, avoiding things, or throwing temper tantrums. The final set of skills, interpersonal effectiveness, will help you develop healthier relationships with other people. So before you go any further, take a closer look at yourself and decide what you think you need to change. Following is a list of behaviors that are sorted into the 4 sets of DBT skills. Make note of the following statements that apply to you. If you notice that you have more notes in certain sections, this will be the set of skills you will want to be especially focused on as you work your way through this book. Mindfulness. I often say or do things without thinking, and later regret my words or actions. I usually feel like I don't really know who I am, what I like and dislike, and what my opinions are. I often change my opinion and go along with the opinions of others so that I won't feel different. I sometimes feel bad or upset without knowing exactly what I'm feeling or why. I often judge myself or other people critically. I frequently try to avoid things that make me uncomfortable. I often find myself saying things like, "This shouldn't have happened," "It's not fair," or "It's not right." Emotion regulation. I try to avoid my emotions by sleeping, partying a lot, immersing myself in video games, or doing other things that take me away from my feelings. Emotions are scary for me. I try to push them away or get rid of them in other ways. I tend to dwell on the negative parts of my life. I'm not very active and don't have regular activities that I enjoy. I neglect setting short or long-term goals for myself. For example, I avoid thinking about where I'd like to be in a year, in 2 years, or in 5 years from now. I often don't have events or situations coming up in my life to look forward to. Distress tolerance. I regularly dwell on negative things that have happened to me. I often find myself having painful emotions because I think about things that have happened in the past or might happen in the future. I tend to ignore my own needs. For example, I don't usually take the time to do things that are relaxing or enjoyable for me. When I'm in crisis, I often find myself making the situation worse by drinking or using drugs, lashing out at others who are trying to help, and so on. I tend to lose friends or the support of my family because they don't like the things I do to cope with my emotions. Interpersonal effectiveness. I feel like I give or take more in my relationships rather than having a balance of give and take. I often feel taken advantage of in relationships. When relationships aren't going well, I tend to end them without first trying to fix the problems. I often feel like others end relationships with me before I'm ready for them to end. I tend to be more passive in communicating with others. For example, I don't stick up for myself or I go along with the other person all the time. I tend to be more aggressive in communication with others. For example, I try to force my opinion on the other person. I tend to get into unhealthy relationships with people who, for example, use drugs or drink a lot, or who get into a lot of trouble with their parents, or even with the police, or with people who don't treat me well or who bully me. Each time you relate it to a statement, it indicates an area you need to work on. You may also have some other ideas about how you would like to change your life. Write down any ideas you have about what else you would like to do differently in your life. Now that you have some ideas about the specific things you need to work on improving in your life, let's start to discuss skills that can help you get there. Chapter 1. Mindfulness. Learning self-awareness. Mindfulness is about living your life in a way that most of us aren't used to. It's about paying close attention to what you're doing in the present moment, noticing when your attention wanders, and bringing it back to what you're doing. It's also about accepting or not judging whatever you happen to notice in the present moment, whether it's thoughts you're having, emotions that are coming up, things that are distracting you, or whatever. Have you ever noticed how hard it can be to concentrate and how frustrated you can get, for example, when you're trying to do your homework, but the house is noisy because your little brother is running around wild? Or maybe you're trying to talk on the phone to a friend, and your parents keep interrupting you to ask questions about school or if you got your chores done. Distractions are part of life, but sometimes they make it harder to get things done. And sometimes they can get you feeling so overwhelmed that you just can't control your emotions. Mindfulness is a skill that is helpful in many ways. It can help you concentrate better. It can help you improve your memory. It can help you get to know yourself better as you become more aware of what you're thinking and feeling. Mindfulness can help you reduce your stress level. It can improve your physical health, and it can help you sleep better. Mindfulness is also really helpful with a lot of emotional problems that people sometimes experience, like feeling anxious, angry, or depressed. In this workbook, we're going to focus on using mindfulness to help you manage your emotions more effectively. Mindfulness can help you control yourself and your emotions better, so that you will be able to choose how to act in situations instead of just reacting. Mindfulness and your thoughts. The idea that you are often not aware of what you're thinking might seem rather strange, but consider it for a minute. Have you ever had someone ask what you were thinking about and realize that you weren't actually sure? Do you ever suddenly notice when you're reading a book or watching television that your attention has drifted and you have no idea what's going on in the book or the TV program? The fact is, it isn't often that we really are paying attention to what we're thinking about. Usually, we let our minds wander wherever they want to go without paying much attention to them and without trying to control them. This can cause problems. Imagine you're sitting in class. Your teacher is talking, and you find it really hard to concentrate on what she's saying. So instead of trying to focus, you just let your thoughts drift off and you start to think about whom you're going to sit with at lunch, about the fight you had yesterday with your best friend, or about what you're going to do this weekend. Your mind jumps from one thing to another. Maybe you get caught up in a daydream for a while about what it will be like after you graduate and you don't have to sit through these boring classes anymore, but can go out and get a job and live on your own. While all these thoughts are going on, your mind is wandering from place to place, taking you along with it for the ride. And for the most part, you probably aren't very aware of what you're thinking about. Not to mention the fact that you've just missed your teacher's instructions for the next test. The consequences of being unmindful. This is how most of us live much of our lives, with our minds taking us wherever they want to go. Our minds tend to control us, instead of the other way around. They flit from the past to the future, then they might come back to the present for a while before launching back into thoughts about things other than what we're doing right now. Think for a moment about how this affects you. If you're doing one thing but thinking about something else, what happens? You might be able to come up with a few possible outcomes. Your memory isn't as good when you're not fully focusing on what you're doing. Or you might make more mistakes when you're not thinking about the task at hand. But the most important consequences for the purpose of this workbook are the emotional ones. If you're not thinking about the present, you must be thinking about the past or the future. And when you're thinking about the past or the future, you're likely not thinking about happy things. Instead, the tendency is to think about things that trigger painful emotions. Thinking about the past, you may notice that you start to feel sad, angry, ashamed, and so on, about things that have happened, things you've done, or things that others have done to you. Likewise, thinking about the future tends to trigger anxiety. Anxiety is that sense of fear or intense worry or nervousness that often goes along with uncomfortable physical sensations. For example, you may notice that you get the jitters or butterflies in your stomach, or that your heart starts to race or flutter while you're worrying that things might go wrong. Living in the past or the future is the opposite of mindfulness. Mindfulness is about living in the present moment, with awareness and with acceptance, realizing that things are okay just as they are, right now in this moment. In other words, it's about focusing on what you're doing in the here and now, not judging whatever is happening, and bringing your attention back when your thoughts wander from what you're doing in the present. This probably sounds pretty complicated, and it's definitely not how most of us are used to living our lives. So let's go over an example to help make sense of this idea. Jacob's story. Jacob had been invited to a party at a friend's house. At first, he was happy he had been invited and was looking forward to the party. But as the party got closer, Jacob began to think about what it might be like. He thought about the last time he had gone to a party. Some people there had teased him and made fun of him, embarrassing him in front of his friends. Thinking about those past events made Jacob angry and brought back the embarrassment all over again. It also made him start to worry that the upcoming party would be like the last one, and he got anxious about going. Jacob went to the party, but the entire time he was worrying that something was going to happen like the last time and that he would end up looking foolish again. As a result, he missed out on a lot of the fun because he was so caught up thinking about the past and worrying about the future that he was too distracted to enjoy a lot of what was happening in the present moment. The present might not be wonderful and full of happy emotions, but think of it this way. If you're living in the present moment, you have to deal only with what's actually going on in that moment. If you're not living in the present, you still have to deal with whatever's happening in the present moment. And you also have to deal with the emotions being brought up by the thoughts you're having about the past or the future. It's like bouncing between three realities at once, which can be exhausting. Mindfulness has you noticing how you're feeling, acknowledging it, and then focusing on what's going on for you in the moment. If Jacob had been practicing mindfulness about the party, it might have looked something like this. Jacob had been invited to a party at a friend's house. At first, he was happy he had been invited and was looking forward to it. But as the party got closer, Jacob noticed that he had started to worry about what the party might be like. He noticed that his thoughts kept turning to the last time he had gone to a party, when some people there had teased him and made fun of him, embarrassing him in front of his friends. Jacob also noticed that whenever he started to think about those past events, he began to get angry, embarrassed, and ashamed all over again. It also made him start to worry that the upcoming party would be like the last one, and he got anxious about going. Being aware of these things, Jacob went to the party and focused on being mindful while he was there. Being in the moment, with awareness and with acceptance. Sometimes he would start to worry about something that was going to happen like the last time, and he would end up looking foolish again. But as soon as he noticed the worry and the thoughts that were triggering it, he would bring himself back to the present moment and would really focus on what was happening then and there. He would say to himself, "I notice I'm feeling anxious. My palms are sweaty and my heart is racing." He'd then take a deep breath and bring his attention back to whatever was happening in the present. Jacob found he really had to work at it at first, but as the night went on, he was able to relax more, spending less time having to focus on his straying thoughts and more time just enjoying what was going on around him. Mindfulness can be really helpful in many different ways, but it's also pretty hard to practice, especially when you first start. You might have noticed in Jacob's story that he was working on being aware of his thoughts and his present experience. Most of us aren't used to being this aware, and it can take a lot of work. To help you with this, you'll be practicing lots of different mindfulness exercises throughout this book. The following exercise will help you start thinking about how mindfulness can be helpful in your life. 1. How aware are you of your thoughts? It's important for you to think about your current patterns or habits, so you can then think about what you need to change. Over the next few days, try to notice where your thoughts tend to wander to. Do you think about the past a lot? Do you often find yourself living in the future? Write about whatever you notice. Have you noticed that your thoughts tend to wander more in certain situations or when you're doing certain things? If so, in which situations or activities does your mind tend to wander? When your thoughts have wandered from the present moment, what kinds of emotions come up for you? Write anything you've noticed. 2. How unmindful thoughts can trigger painful emotions. Listen to the following stories. Keep in mind that living in the present or future is likely to trigger more painful emotions. See if you can identify if the person in each story is being mindful, that is, focused on the present moment with acceptance, or unmindful, that is, not focused on the present and possibly judging the situation. Make note of whichever word seems to be most accurate. You'll hear the answers at the end of the book. 1. Stacy was talking to her friend about a problem she was having with her parents. When she had finished telling the story, which she was quite angry over, her friend told her she thought Stacy was being silly and should just get over it, that lots of other people had bigger problems than Stacy did. Stacy was stunned, and she thought, I can't believe she just said that. I'm feeling really hurt and angry right now. I'm having an urge to say something really hurtful back to her. Mindful? Unmindful. 2. Kevin was sitting in his room, feeling really angry and sad. He was thinking about what had happened earlier that day. He had overheard his friend Toby talking, and he was pretty sure that Toby was talking about him. Kevin thought, I can't believe that Toby said those mean things about me. This always ends up happening to me. People who used to be my friends turn on me. I'll never have friends I can trust. Mindful? Unmindful. 3. Jessica was discussing curfew with her parents and was getting really upset because they wouldn't budge on her regular 10 o'clock time, even though she was going to a school dance that would be chaperoned. She tuned out her parents and thought, blah, blah, blah. They never trust me. They always insist on treating me like a child. Mindful? Unmindful. 4. Mark was sitting in class and was getting quite frustrated because 2 girls behind him kept whispering. He thought, I'm having a really hard time focusing right now because people are talking and I'm starting to feel frustrated. Mindful? Unmindful. 5. Sarah was at a party with a bunch of friends from school. All her friends were talking to each other and having a good time. But Sarah found herself alone in the living room watching television. She thought, I always feel so anxious when I'm at parties, but everyone else looks comfortable. What's wrong with me? I'll never fit in. Mindful? Unmindful. 6. Tyler had been working on the same skateboard trick for quite a while and still hadn't gotten it down. He was getting closer, but had just fallen off his board for what seemed like the millionth time. He thought, I've been working on this trick for quite a while. Sometimes it gets frustrating, but I can see I'm getting there. Mindful? Unmindful. 3. Mindfulness breathing. Now that you have more of an understanding of how to be mindful, it's time to actually practice a mindfulness exercise. For the next few moments, just focus on your breath. Don't change the way you're breathing. Just notice how it feels to breathe. Notice the feel of the air as it enters your nostrils. Notice your belly expanding as the air inflates your lungs. Simply pay attention to whatever you notice about how it feels to breathe. At some point, you'll likely become aware that your attention has wandered. Maybe you'll start thinking that this seems weird and wondering what the point is. Or maybe you'll get distracted by sounds. Or perhaps your thoughts will wander to lunchtime, wondering what you're going to eat. Whatever comes to your attention, just notice it. Then, without judging yourself for wandering, and without judging whatever you're experiencing, bring your attention back to your breath. Do this for about a minute or so, and then answer the following questions about your experience. What did you notice while you were focusing on your breath? Were you paying attention to your breath the whole time, or did your attention wander? If it wandered, where did your thoughts go? Did you accept whatever came to your awareness? For example, if you noticed yourself being distracted by a barking dog, did you just accept it? I hear a dog barking. Or did you find yourself judging it in some way? That barking dog is really annoying. Or perhaps you noticed your attention wandered a lot. Did you accept this? I'm really having a hard time staying focused right now. Or did you judge yourself for this? I can't even do this right. Write about anything you noticed. It's normal for your attention to wander, so as best you can, don't judge yourself when this happens. Accept it and bring your attention back to your breath. We'll be looking more at judgments and acceptance in Chapter 4, so if it doesn't quite make sense yet, don't worry, it will. For now, this might help. Think of your mind as a puppy being trained to sit and stay. When you first start to teach that puppy, it's not going to listen to you. Then it will start to catch on and will stay for a few seconds before straying again. As time goes on, it will get better and better at staying when you tell it to. Your mind will behave in the same way. It's never been trained to stay before. So you might need to bring your attention back again and again in just 1 minute, and that's okay. You wouldn't get impatient and angry at the puppy when it doesn't stay, because you know it's just learning. So be patient with yourself as well. Remember to accept whatever you happen to notice and bring your attention back to the present moment without judgment. Since mindfulness is about returning to the present moment when your attention wanders and accepting whatever you become aware of, you can do absolutely anything mindfully. So if you're listening to music mindfully, you are just listening to the music, not judging it, and bringing your attention back whenever it wanders from the song you're listening to. If you're cleaning your bedroom mindfully, you are focused on just doing that one thing. When you notice your attention wanders, don't judge yourself for wandering. Just bring your attention back. When you notice that you're judging your mom for making you clean your room, notice that and bring your attention back. Here are some other activities you can do mindfully. Add your own ideas on a blank page. Reading a book. Talking to a friend. Watching TV or a movie. Skateboarding. Paying attention in class. Updating your Facebook profile. Rollerblading. Dancing. Playing with a pet. Doing your chores. Doing your homework. Taking a walk. If you had a hard time thinking of activities you can do mindfully, think about things you really enjoy doing. Starting to practice mindfulness will be a bit easier if you begin with activities that you're able to throw yourself into. The goal here is to live your life more mindfully, though, so you can start out with these easier activities, but you'll still have to move on to doing other things mindfully as well. Mindfulness and your emotions. You might be wondering what listening to music or cleaning your room has to do with your emotions. Remember that when you're not in the present moment, and that means this immediate moment, you're often triggering painful emotions for yourself. So when you're listening to music, for example, you might find that the music reminds you of something, like a past relationship or someone you like who's already dating someone else, and you get caught up in those thoughts and memories. When you're living outside the immediate present in this way, you actually experience the emotions as if you were going through that event again. Maybe not to the same degree, but you still have those same emotions. You probably have enough to deal with in the present that brings up painful emotions for you, without bringing up stuff from the past. Listening to music, cleaning your room, or doing anything else mindfully means that you are bringing your attention back to the present moment instead of letting your mind take you wherever it wants to go. This helps you manage your emotions more effectively in 2 ways. First, by being mindful, you're preventing painful emotions from being triggered by thoughts of the past or worries about the future. Second, Mindfulness reduces the number and intensity of emotions.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?